And yeah, so we are leading the work package 8, and I know that Jörgen Ekblad is among the people here, and he's the project lead. And with me, I also have Patrick Williamson, which I actually will leave the word to in a few minutes, because he will show a lot of what we have done, implemented in the system that we are working with. And referring to Laura, thank you for that presentation. And so you are looking at the very much at the system, how it works, how the communication works from the company and out to all stakeholders, consumers, and so on, and how the system should be. We are actually looking more on the inside of the company, so to speak. How will the company work? Oops, sorry. Work with the DPP internally to actually sort out all the information they need, and what system support could they get. So we are looking at the DPP, but we are also looking at the SPR from perspective of how to develop better products. So how can we make them reusable and refurbishable? How can we make sure that they have longer life and use better materials that are both have longer life, but also is more recyclable? And of course, then we have our dear Mickey friends, that we are looking into the toys regulation that was officially entered into force this 1st of January. But the transition period for toys is quite long, 4.5 years. So we have some time to make sure that everyone can do this. But we choose the Mickey Baby Walker since it's a simple construction. It's easier to get a complete overview of the product, but still it gets complex when you dig down deeper into the details. We also work with Duo in this work package, who makes mobile phones, but they will come a little bit later in the process here. We are starting with this Baby Walker and with Mickey, and we will also do the Coron game that people might be familiar with. It's been around for a while, so to speak. Yes, and we are looking into, we are thinking about 3 use cases for different companies or for the DPP. Of course, we have all the existing products that you have on the markets. And that could be really complicated to get hold of the existing information, especially if you're not that digitalized. Do you have the data you need? Is it relevant? How do we get it? Do you have agreements with your suppliers, for example, to get the information from them? And then, of course, when you have created the DPP, is it competitive? Is the numbers good, so to speak? Then we have the situation where you actually improve an existing product, so you upgrade it, for example. Then you, of course, want to increase the quality, longer lifespan, and further improve your environmental impact and so on. And finally, of course, you have new products, and this is where we are digging in a little bit extra. And this is what we are looking into, how to support companies and how they can work with a good system support. So how to design for sustainability. And we are calling this, we are working with an expected DPP. So while you're doing the development, you can see and follow the DPP as it will be when you are actually done. So how to be able to follow the data during the development. And yeah, in work package 8, then we have this Baby Walker that we have looked into deeper and used as a product to put into the system. And yeah, that was my short minutes, and I will leave over to Patrick, our dear friend at Aras.
Thank you, Martin. Can you hear me? Is that
yes,
all good?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. Very good. Then let me share my screen. So you should see now the same baby walker that Martin just showed you.
Yes.
Perfect. Quickly about what you see on the screen here. We provide a product lifecycle management system, which is used typically in the product development phase, and also when you go into production, and in the after sales, basically also if there's any maintenance or repairs or something, that's where a PLM system works quite well. But there's a big focus on the early stage of the product development. And we have different applications inside this platform. One of this is, let's say, product design or product engineering, where you have, let's say, you manage parts and its components of those parts, assemblies, but also maybe the materials, which are of extreme importance, obviously, for the passport in the end, because much of the information that is needed in the passport comes from the materials. But we have also other information like documents management system inside, materials management, obviously, material compliance. So there are a lot of applications inside the system that we use to, as Martin already said, the expected digital product passport. So the Mickey Baby Walker, it looks like a simple product, but actually has a lot of components. And all of these components, like for example, the packaging is one of the components, or one of the, let's say, the set of data that's needed to describe the sales item, or let's say the product you put on the market as the economic operator. That's actually one part. And then the baby walker itself with all its components. So if we look at the full structure of this product, then, and let me make this a little bit bigger, you can see that first of all, the packaging has a box, has a paper which is uncoated, and there's some bubble wrap of polypropylene. So we have the full information of the product structure of the packaging in this case, but also of the baby walker itself. So if we look at the baby walker, it has wheels, a front wheel, it has a wheel rim of a certain thermoplastic elastomer, which is a rubber. It has a wheel core, which is of polypropylene, and all of these informations you need to collect or to provide to define your product, first of all, but also is needed to calculate, for example, the CO2 footprint. So if you look at, let's say, the box assembly here, so the baby walker obviously has a wooden box which has some glue. It has so right side, left side, and that's made of some high density fiberboard. So if we look at this material, then we see that this material obviously has a number because we want to manage that, but it also has substances. So it has a certain level of formaldehyde in this board, and it has let's say it has an environmental impact. So it has a greenhouse gas emission with a CO2 equivalent footprint of 2 kilograms per kilogram. So those are the informations, and there might be more informations about, let's say, recyclability, and this will fill up during the course of your development when you start to collect information from your material provider, for example, to fill your own data in this system that can be used for calculating things for the product passport. So let me get back to the Mickey. So if we have collected all of the different components of this Mickey baby walker with the quantity, so how many kilograms of fiberboard do we use, how many grams of glue do we use, how many of the bubble wrap do we use. That's all relevant for calculating the expected product passport, and one component of that is obviously the carbon footprint of the material, for example. So that's what we see as ways of actually starting to collect information during the design of the product on how good you are in your, let's say, on your, for example, on your carbon footprint. So this is the design for sustainability. It's not an LCA analysis, but it's for the designers a first, let's say, input. Are we on the right track? Or if we change the material, for example, if we use, instead of the rubber that we order, maybe some other material, what would that be? What would the impact be on our the environmental indicators, for example? And we can also set certain goals on our. So if you look for, let's say, the baby walker itself, and go a little bit deeper. I think I put some on the wheel core. So, for example, we could say we have this wheel core, which is a component in our design in the baby walker. We have this has its own, let's say, the environmental indicators. So we could also look on a component level. What do we want to actually, let's say, improve? If we pick a new material, would that improve our sustainability? Maybe we have let's say, better recycling. So we can set different types of goals on our carbon footprint, also on our weight. So if we know, okay, we set a target of 0.005 kilogram CO2 equivalent per kilogram, then we can also calculate this based on the material and the density, etc. And we see, okay, we are actually exceeding the targets, or for weight, we actually meeting the target. So we can set ourselves goals and design towards those goals. And when you roll it up to the top, to the actual Mickey baby walker as an assembly, but also maybe as the sales item itself, we can then have a, let's say, carbon footprint in this case of the material. What we also do is we collect regulations inside the system, so we can actually define, and this is let's say, a regulation from the, let's say, the Toys Directive on formaldehyde. It's the 2019 version. I need to update this because, like Martin said, there's a new one. But we can also define, let's say, certain thresholds for, in this case, the substance formaldehyde. And this can be more substances and more regulations than just these, but we can keep in mind that we're not only designing for sustainability itself, but also to comply to regulations, obviously. And we can also understand, okay, a little bit more about what is this substance and what is the chemical names, etc., etc. So we are also collecting information on substances itself, for example. And because we are doing this and we use these in the materials, or we know from our supplies that they have a certain level of formaldehyde in their materials, we can easily see, okay, where are those substances used, or in which of the materials that we use are these materials. So we have the plywood and obviously the high density fiberboard that have some formaldehyde in it. So I could actually open up the either the generic material or maybe the bottom plate, which is made out of plywood, and see, okay, what is the material, what is the raw material? Again, this is the plywood, obviously, and navigate to that particular plywood and see how much of that substance is in there. It's 0.1. This is a weight percentage, so that's probably below the threshold. And also this wood has a certain impact on the environment. So we collect all kinds of information to actually come to a digital product passport, expected digital product passport. And as a matter of fact, we now have ways of defining that digital product passport. So we have certain passport templates that we say certain product types need to collect certain types of information. And we have the actual or expected, in this case, the expected product passport. So if you look at the Mickey Baby Walker DPP, then we collect all kinds of information. First of all, obviously the sales item itself. So this is the Mickey Baby Walker, which is exactly this baby walker that we saw here. And it's the expected product passport. It's based on a template for toys. I mean, if we would have, let's say, battery, we would have a different template because that mandates different types of information. We collect certain informations on the top level of the product passport. So, for example, the footprint, but also maybe we did some LCA analysis that we can link to. Then we have obviously the general information, who is the manufacturer, or let's say the economic operator, that is Mickey in Småland, and also the manufacturer is Mickey Toys Limited. So there are different. The economic operator is not the same organization or the legal entity as the manufacturer, for example. Because we have a full product structure in the system, we also know the materials and the composition that we can communicate with the digital product passport providers, and we can use in the expected product passport. So we have the different elements of materials in the system that we just saw with some number and maybe also cast numbers. So we can simply report on what materials we have in our products and how much actually. And we have, because we are having also a so-called document management system, we can attach immediately the different informations or documentation that is needed to be delivered with the product passport. So those are all, let's say, the elements that we have in the system to generate or to collect the information that is needed for the product passport. But for the designers, this level of information shows if they are developing the product in the right direction and if they are designing for sustainability, basically. The next step that we want to do is, so we have seen now that we collect information and calculate information based on materials. So for example, the CO2 footprint is based on the material, and we have the material impact of the greenhouse gas emission. But what we like to do is also go into more of the production side. So how much CO2 footprint, scope 1, 2, 3, or basically 2 and 3, is produced in our production process and in our logistics. So we have here, so we call this process plans, in which we actually define the process plan, or let's say the manufacturing plan for producing the Mickey Baby Walker in this case. And that has all the information on what we actually do to produce this, let's say the packaging, but also the, let's say, the producing the, let's say, the baby walker itself. And what we're missing at the moment is information on what these operations and steps actually mean for the CO2 footprint, and therefore the impact on the environment. So that's the next step in our project, that we are going to use this process plan to actually also calculate the impact on the production of the materials, of the logistics of the materials. And so finally we get something like, if we go to the Mickey baby walker again, on the top note, that we have a footprint of the material, we have the footprint of the production, and we also have the cradle to gate footprint. This is just an example. We will have more information. Like I said, we also like to have information on substances levels. In the passport, we also have documentation, and that's actually what we are planning for the next steps in our work package.